Today's sports card market is a very data-driven card market, right? We are exposed. We have many tools such as market movers, card ladder. We talk about comps. We talk about serial numbers. We talk about pop counts, right? We talk about the multipliers. So it's a very quantitative market at the moment, and that all leads to determining what is the price of a certain card. But what if I told you that there was an invisible factor that actually can determine price in a way that we can't quantify directly? Right. So in this video, I'm going to discuss about that. So welcome to the Courtside Investor Podcast. I'm your host, the Card Boss, where we talk about business, finance, investing, as well as, of course, sports cards. Okay. And today's video topic is the art of storytelling and how does storytelling affect prices of cards. So before that, I'm going to talk about my favorite storyteller of all in the sports card market, which is Adam Gray, and his channel, Across the Hobby. Okay, now I watch this channel every single week, and it talks about basically the auctions that's happening throughout the entire week and he highlights certain cards, okay, that's whether is it unique, special, in a certain way. But what I do enjoy is some of the cards actually have a nice backstory to it, things that I really didn't know, okay. And of course, it's not his intention to drive up the price or anything like that. But thinking about it, I realized that some cards that does have a good backstory, does carry a little premium in terms of pricing. Now, of course, how you quantify this, that's a bit subjective, but what it meant is, outside all these quantitative data points that we're very accustomed to, whether it's a 3x PSA 10 over a PSA 9, how many percentage over comps and all these kind of factors that we're very accustomed to. But there's this element of storytelling that will put a bit of premium to the cards, that especially the unique cards, that you plan to own. So Adam actually talks about a particular card in his most recent video, and he talks about this 1997 SP Authentic Sign of Times Redemption Michael Jordan card. Okay, now I've never seen this card before in my life. Okay, I've seen the Sign of Times auto, but I never knew it was actually meant for redemption. Now you can watch his video and he will narrate the entire story. But what basically happened was Jordan was supposed to sign on the Sign of Times card, okay, but Upper Deck had a bit of concern whether or not he would actually return the cards on time for them to put into the packs. So they created this redemption card to be inserted in the packs in case that he didn't actually return it on time. But in fact, he did, and therefore these redemption cards were not going to be used and were tucked away in the Upper Deck warehouse. Now, subsequently, I'm not sure how long, okay, all these cards were stolen from the warehouse. Okay, there's no known quantity of how many of these cards were actually stolen, but they went to the market and they were all on sale. I think if you go to Card Ladder, you can see a number of these cards that were sold throughout the last 10 years or so. Okay, some raw, some graded, but most importantly, this graded copy actually just sold yesterday, right, on eBay for $2,800. The last one that was sold graded, okay, was sold in 2021, similar copy as well. But the question is, this card, not pack pool, it's not supposed to even exist, right? How do you put a price tag on this card? Of course, if you talk to a true Jordan collector, they're going to talk about the uniqueness about this card and, like what I said, the story that's behind this card. Right. Again, there's no known quantities of this card. That's how many is actually in circulation, how many is potentially destroyed, or how many people felt that this is not even a true card and just tuck it aside. Right. But the ones that are still in the market, which we do not know exactly how many, right, carries a unique story behind it, and therefore some people would put a certain value to that particular story. Okay. Now, if there was another copy that would appear in the market, let's say in about 6 months from now, would it carry similar value, higher value, low value? We do not know. Okay. It depends on how much the potential buyer appreciates the story behind it. It is a unique story nevertheless, but again, it may not mean anything to you. It may not mean much to me because I don't collect these unique Michael Jordan pieces, but it may be worth a lot of money to somebody who has an intention to put together the best Jordan collection out there. Right, another example, a recent sale as well, which is a 1961 Wilt Chamberlain rookie card that was actually found in a grocery store, tucked away for 70 years, sent to SGC, got an SGC 10, and sold for a whopping $1.7 million. Okay, of course, it was subsequently then cross-graded to PSA, got a PSA 10. This unique thing about this Will Chamberlain, right? It's such a a story that for the ages, right? A card is discovered. Now we heard a lot of stories that you could find some from through your garage or through your attic. But in this case, to find a true unique piece, a pristine condition, Will Chamberlain, the big guy. And of all the years, it's been so well preserved, and it got such a high grade and put up on sale, so privately as well. But if this card were to ever, enter into the open auction, and people had a chance to value this card individually, and it's not just going to be based on what is a comparison of last sold, because there isn't any comps on this thing, right? People could put all sorts of quantitative reasonings on how they would actually measure the value of the card, whatever multipliers that they use. But again, the story behind this card is unchanged, and that provenance will actually carry from buyer to buyer, right? And as the story grows older, when we talk about this in another 20 years from now, the story remains the same. The number of years, since then will become, of course, longer, and that's where the value of this card will stand, right? Again, the premium on this is not quantifiable because the story itself is so unique on this Wilt Chamberlain. Okay, we talk about a couple of old cards already. 1961 Wilt. We talk about 1997. So you say, yeah, of course, old cards would then have some unique stories. But what about something modern? All right, I'm going to touch on something very modern, but very recent as well. Okay, which is this Steph Curry Topps Now 1/1 Super Fractal Auto. Okay, which sold for $500,000. Ultra modern card. You probably think, no, wow, this is crazy, right? So if you talk about some of the other cards that's actually not number 5 or number 10, you're probably not even close to fetching $100,000. Talking about like 30 grand, 50 grand, or something along those lines. But this one, 500,000, where did it come from? And I think they need to dial back, a couple of years, more than 30 years actually, to the 1992 Dream Team. All right, of course, 1992 Dream Team is very iconic. Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. Okay, these were kind of the way to kickstart the US into the international basketball scene. Of course, a lot of Dream Team stuff is definitely going to be valuable. They're going to be remembered. I think Jeff Wilson's on the right track, okay, to actually pick up a bunch of these Dream Team cards. They are definitely iconic. But again, a lot of people today, I had the opportunity to watch the Dream Team on TV, which is, I'm very thankful for that. But a lot of younger collectors, they know about the Dream Team, but they don't really have that much of appreciation towards it because it was maybe way earlier before their time. But Steph Curry was in the Olympics last year, and the heroics that he did, so many people watching, and the way that he did it can be remembered, for a long, long time. And that story itself is embedded into his best Olympics card, which is what you can see here. Now, how do you determine a price on that, right? You can say it's 100 grand, 200 grand, 3. In this case, the buyer here is willing to put in $500,000 into the card because how much he felt, towards that card for the story that he carries behind it. Okay. Now, another person may feel strongly in the future, right? If let's say this card were ever to go out on an auction market again, it may be $1 million card. Nobody would know, okay, because there is, again, real data metric to measure the value of this card. It's all about the story. People will remember Steph Curry's heroics in this Olympics. Remember the shot that he made towards the end. Remember about the night pose that he did. It's going to be replayed millions and millions and continue to be replayed over time. And this card will remain iconic. And that's why perhaps it's 500K today. That's why it could be maybe $1 million in the future. It's all about the story. All right, that's it I got for this one. I hope you find this one interesting. So I think it gives me a new perspective about, measuring values of cards. Of course, bread and butter is still about the financial data. It's still about, the metrics that I talked about. But this is where the premium gets added on to. And it's something to look out for, when looking for key iconic pieces such as the Steph Curry, old pieces such as the Chamberlain, or even unique pieces such as the SB Authentic Redemption card. All right. That's all I got for this one. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, follow my channel for more videos in future. Till next one. Cowboys out.